is if we have a state trooper out here issuing tickets to the trucking companies from Canada, saying you're overloaded by 30,000, here's what the fine is, it's already set, statute, send us a check.
If they're over width?
He sends them on the road. He doesn't take them off the road, he doesn't say you can't do this, you can't do that, they just go on. They might not get another overload ticket down in Syracuse.
Right.
Freddie, you know the guys we used to run in Potsdam and Canton, the overload was just a matter of doing business. Question on what.
Throw it on the dash. Throw it on the dash. And then we had to pass legislation that the driver's not responsible for the company's overloaded tickets, because our drivers lost their driver's license.
Yeah.
Oh, nightmare. My question would be this. We set the policies for our bridge crossings. My thought is this. The legal weight is 90,000. Now we have a truck going across at 105 or 110. So he's overloaded, say X by whatever. So for that overload, we're gonna charge him an additional 20 bucks. Resolves your problem. Okay? When you know the truck's overloaded, the bridge on the other side, and he don't follow me, because I'm overloaded to begin with. I'm going across all by myself. You don't put 3 of them overloaded trucks in, that's what Sam is telling us. That's what they're doing to us on the southbound traffic. And I watch them out there when I'm fishing all the time. 3 tractor trailers, bumper to bumper.
Yeah.
So I'm looking, there's 90,000, 90,000, 90,000. They're only, 60 feet apart. So you add them all up, you've got 380. So don't take long, like you said, to bust the thing. But if you've got a system in where that truck is over 90, up to 105, we charge an additional $20. It ends your problem. Or you make money. That's the way you do business. And why do we make money? You tell the people down in the bureaucrats in Albany, is because now we have to shut the lane down over in Canada and on our side until that truck gets to the other side.
I'd go a step
It's an
further.
inconvenience for us, but yet it can be done. I'd rather see that than get nothing.
But $20, you think that's gonna deter them trucks coming over for another $20 bill? Something higher might.
Well, I don't know, I'm just thinking here out loud. I mean,
Yeah.
what should we do? She says we do nothing. Excuse me for saying she, excuse me.
Fred,
Our staff people say we get nothing.
We set up, Majeski and Masters, our engineers are gonna be in here the 16th of January. And I'm just saying, I may be telling you things that I don't know engineering wise completely. I do know, I've asked that same question, cause I think you brought it up a while back. The bridge is rated, so that, well, for example, you have a traffic jam. It isn't like if we've had people at the toll booth backed all the way up.
Yeah.
The bridge is built in a certain way that it can take that, not consistently like you're talking about. So
Standing
maybe,
weight and rhythmic weight are 2 different
right,
things.
they may be able to ask or answer some of your questions or how we should proceed a little bit better than, I may be confusing you on some of that. So, but the things you're asking, I think would be a good thing to ask them next month. And maybe they can say that maybe, like you say, maybe we need to ask for more or something
Well,
like that.
to me, and also, when the truck, they say is overloaded, depends how many axles they got.
Right.
Because they move those axles, deliver, to move the weight.
And they're legal.
And it's legal.
Right.
Yeah.
On a 10-wheeler, you're allowed 18,000 pounds. Anything over that, you're gonna get a ticket. Whoop, I got a New York State permit, says I can haul 27 ton. Oh, you're okay.
We were way overweight on those windmill components, but when you looked, they had to make sure when they first did it, they had to load every truck the same way to match the tire configuration so that when the state police would come in and weigh them weekly, they all met what the permit said, so.
Interesting.
So Steve, do we have the space and the capacity within our existing weigh in motion scale system to put in a scale on the southbound lane if we had
Just down
the
here.
funds to do it?
Yeah, just
So
down
that
here.
way when they come up to the booth, we know exactly what they
Oh.
weigh.
Yeah, you might be able, you mean up above the booth?
Yes,
Probably there's some way you can
between
put
the
that
booth and between.
in.
You
Yeah,
gotta stop on the Canadian side, though.
I'm clear
Yeah,
on that.
but
That's
they
still
should
goes
do
to
something.
Sam's thing, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you probably could set something up, what we have there, at least we know, yeah, you came across and you're overweight, we could tie into what,
So we know.
yeah,
Okay, thank you.
What's that?
How you doing with this, Red? We holding you up too much? I know you got your dialogue to move here, but all right.
I'm ready for page 6 if everyone else is.
I appreciate your patience.
Good thing there's only 100 pages.
That's right.
Well, some of these are going.
Moving right along. This is the total building income, total building rental income. You can see it's up from last year and up from the forecast. The spike there in 2011 was due to the lease termination in the deal that we struck with the company that left, Breckenridge. Next page is the details of the rental in this building. And all of these are real customers, with the exception of the last column, which is an estimate on new people, new customers.
Fred, why does the Amex fluctuate like that?
It's based on sale,
Sales?
based on their sales,
Okay.
and based on the pattern of which it's going, and of course I round things.
Hmm?
The next one is a summary of the industrial park. Was there any was there any questions on this building? This is the industrial park. This is, this page 8 is just a summary by month. It's only meaningful to me. The next page, though, is the details of each building. And then there, of course, there's details, more details by month following that. But this is really an important page, I think, to tell you who's where and what they're paying. Anytime you see miscellaneous tenants or new, that's something that I've put in here as anticipated.
What capacity are we full? 65, 70?
We have a vacancy rate that's 36%.
So we're 64%.
Yes.
So we're actually, you could have 36% more.
Well, in this, we're not at 64% in this budget, because I have added in some places, I haven't filled them all, but I didn't leave, I have put in some anticipated prospects.
Well, I'm just saying, the maximum number that you can get, it would be a percentage on top of what you have there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you maxed out.
Yep.
Which is very hard to do.
Mm-hmm.
We're looking at just about over $100,000 in anticipated revenue, right?
Yes.
Basic, just round figures.
Mm-hmm. Maybe just a little bit less than that, but just about that, yep. And then these are just the details of who's paying what in each building by month.
Where does Hoosier show up? Where
It
they?
shows up in building, that shows up in the port,
In the port side.
port side.
Was that in the port side? Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
So all of these pages, unless there's a question on a specific page, and as you go through, just, if you have questions, let me know. There's nothing that I will point out. I didn't think there's anything here that's,
Just on page 14,
yes.
you've got previously social security unknown, we're looking at 200,000 a month. Is that in the ballpark? Are we over?
I think I had this a little higher at one time. That's 24,000. That's a significant amount of space. I think I had 4,000 a month in there at
That's
one time.
square footage over there is 5,200 square feet. It's in social security. This
Mhm.
assumes that
That it's
about
all?
half of that space is rented, I believe.
Okay.
I think is what the percentage is on that.
That's what I was wondering if,
why
that's a
it's
big
only
building, so,
24,000.
Right.
okay.
So this is, it shows optimism that there'll be somebody
Yeah.
there, and it shows pessimism in that they're only gonna pay half what it's
Yeah.
worth. So, in fact, at one time I had it in just 6 months, and then it was making, the back end of the year was really a lot higher than
Jack and Jill is full.
the earlier months, and I didn't like the look of that, so I changed it this way.
Office and mental health, TVs.
You know, as long as we're talking about rentals in these buildings and everything,
Prices.
it's not directly related to the budget, but are all our tenants current at this point?
No.
No, they're not. We have one that is of significant concern in the $48,000 range that we will be referring to the Finance Committee
It's in building
along with
3.
our recommendation. I prefer not to identify that with the press in the room, but I'd be happy to talk to you about that after the fact.
Check could be coming right over. Right? The check could be coming right over.
That is one of life's possibilities.
We're expecting it tomorrow.
You've been saying that, Sam, right along.
Yeah. Pony Express, we just gotta find a pony.
Okay, so where are we now, Fred?
I'm on page 19.
I like to be moved, thank you.
He's gonna get through this one way.
Page 19 is the port, activities and warehousing. You can see, I don't think I have the detail page. No, I don't have the detail page in here, but this is based on, I think, 6 salt ships and 1 grain ship. And again, that's estimates, guesses, based on talking to Steve and John, and so that's where these numbers come from. They're our rates times anticipated quantities and so on.
The,
It's got the flu.
under the warehousing, the New York and
Yes.
Ogdensburg Railroad office,
Yes.
is that money there above and beyond the 15,000 that we
Yes.
received?
Yeah, that's a
Yes.
separate rental agreement.
Separate rental
with,
agreement, and
yeah.
we have received?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we receive that on a regular
All right.
basis. Yep.
I think-
Okay, and I don't have the details on this, but Hoosier is in building 4, and that's
What page was that on?
page 19.
Oh, page 2, okay, I think it just,
Isn't that the agreement we just reached with them?
Yes.
So in actuality, that was passed the resolution here just recently, right?
Yes.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Remember that one?
yeah.
Okay.
Double check that number, please, after this meeting.
The
I think that number refers to the available space in P4 at 6,000 as opposed to the Hoosier space, because the Hoosier agreement was a separate animal.
Yeah.
yeah, I know it's for, yeah, okay.
Just double check that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Next page is the airport. Any questions on the port? I know this is a lot of information here without a lot of detail. I think I probably should have put some more detail behind this, but,
Well, I think, you know, for the press, whatever, I mean, John Reese is not here, he's home ill with the flu, whatever, but I mean, some of the perspectives and questions that we've been asked here in this meeting, I'd like to be directed to John, and I know it's, categorically, what he's working on is different than what you know about, and it'd be nice to know what John's working on and what he says about these numbers also, so I think that's,
sure.
but we'll catch up anyway, so it's not that these are locked in.
Well, let's
Right.
capture those questions.
All right.
Send those questions to me, and what we'll do is we'll get together a specific sheet and get that back to you with the answers, so that way there's
Okay.
no, I just don't wanna have the questions unanswered there, or unasked either.
Sure.
Well, as long as they relate to the capital investments and things you wanna make that relate to it, so I
Right.
mean, that's where it's
Mhm.
gonna tie in.
Absolutely.
So am I looking at this right, that on the loading in the stevedores is 215,600, and then the budget for you're estimating 29,500,
229 was last year's budget.
okay. And what are you talking about for an increase, not, you're talking about decrease, what are you talking about there? Estimated you got 200,000. Maybe I'm not following.
Oh, 200,000 is the estimate for this year. The budgeted amount was 229. Oh, I've got the 2012 budget column in there. I'm sorry about that, I shouldn't have that in there, but, the 2013,
Oh, it's gonna tell you where
yeah.
you're at, yeah.
the 2013 budget was 229, I think we're gonna come in at 200. The stockpiling and receiving, the budget was 405, I think it's gonna be 335.
And again, a very huge disclaimer there is that asterisk.
That
That's a very
asterisk.
important thing, that takes out the impact of the wind turbine project.
You know, and that's very important, I really do, because a lot of things that did happen here in the city, hotels, food, okay, so there's more to
Right.
this number than just what happened
Right.
here at the port. So I think, you know, when we get down to the details of exactly what did happen, I think that's important for the public to really know what did happen.
Right. But again, I did do that column as, without the wind turbine project, for comparison purposes with this year's budget. It,
It's like our truck weighing, that looks
Yeah.
like it's way down from the actual, what you estimated for 2013. It's down about, what, 14,000?
yes,
Is it, what do you think the difference is in that?
Well, I'll let me speak to that a little, Fred. Some of that is, it's really kind of seasonal, especially with grain and then also with salt. You get like right now, I suppose if you use the numbers for, I think we're probably 25% down where we normally would be for loading out
Okay.
of salt, and that's all weather driven.
Yep.
And what tends to happen, you know, if weather evens out, you may have a high intensity where you're 25% up for 2 weeks and you move a lot. I don't know I don't mean to speak to your numbers, Fred, but part of that's the way they sometimes work out, right?
yeah. And I would say, if there's a number to be questioned on that line, it would be the estimate for 2013. I think that 50,000 may be a little high.
Okay.
I don't remember for sure, but I think if when we see later on in the program,
Yeah.
when we see the actuals for the year, I think that number may be high.
Yeah, okay.
I think I based, I just think that's high.
All right.
So in addition to 6 ships, this also assumes 135,000 tons
No,
carryover?
We shut that
130, yes,
no,
yes,
good.
yeah,
Good.
and that's in the salt carryover, yeah. This is a tough one, I think, one of the hardest revenues to predict. The airport revenue, rent income from the transient hangar, key hangar rents, TSA rent, and the land rental. Flat from last year's budget. Other income, you see the passenger fees, facility fees are up, and that's due to the increased traffic and fuel sales.
What are the passenger fare charges? I mean, is that something that's added into the ticket or something?
Yeah. And we also get, we also get some, money from other airlines when a passenger, connects. So we receive
yeah.
funds from,
Yeah.
say, United Airlines,
Yeah.
when someone flies from Ogdensburg to Albany and gets on a United flight to Florida, we get a small fee for that.
Is that like a percentage or a flat fee or?
I think it's a percentage. It's always a small number,
Mhm.
you know, that,
Yeah.
it's not like $3. It's,
Do we have to track all that?
no,
That's done by that service?
yeah,
By-
right.
Okay.
We get a report and a check.
Okay.
Fred, can I back you up for a minute?
Yeah,
Back to 19.
19, yes.
That, the last one on that page is, New York and Ogdensburg Rail.
Yes.
We get, what is that? Tell me them numbers.
That's their, the office that they rent, and I think if you took the 3,500 divided by 12, it's like 300 a month.
It's a
Mhm.
small little office, it's in the building whose name I can't
Okay.
remember.
3.
Three, thank you.
It's like
I'm just
292,
trying to figure out the
75.
difference there.
You mean why it went up 500?
Then it's down.
Oh. I don't know. Why it went from 32 to 3,000, maybe that was just, probably last year's budget number was, although I've got 3,000 for the estimated amount too, so, I'm not certain.
Thank you.
Page 20, I think the only thing we haven't mentioned on this page is the TSA operating grant. That's significantly lower this year, based on their new rules and regulations.
We're gonna cover those later, aren't we?
Actually, you want me to speak for the whole thing right now? I can.
Might as well, they're right here, I guess.
Trying to think of the easiest way to start this. The easiest way to start is go back to 9/11/2001. We all know the events that occurred. As a result, law enforcement officer coverage was required at the airport. At first, it was 100% picked up by TSA grant that cycles on 5-year terms. The latest grant, as opposed to being 100%, is significantly less and is now $26,000. Costs over that period of time have not gone down, they've continued to increase as the costs generally do. And as a result, there's a shortfall there between the $85,000?
Yes, but
$85,000
yeah,
annual cost that we paid the city of Ogdensburg for law enforcement officer services, and the TSA operating grant of $26,000. We are in the process of reviewing our options under the airport security plan, and I will have more to report to the board on that once it is either approved or disapproved.
Part of that include the city participating in this a little more?
We have had some discussions with the city, the meeting with the city. Sam, you were there, so if I'm missing anything, please feel free to chime in. The loss of potential revenue for the city was of very little concern, because for them it was a wash, because of the loss of revenue coming in equal the loss of expenses going out, so it's not a.
They probably put it on my water bill.
No, actually, it was
just did.
interesting about what they were talking about, how overtime and scheduling, and how it made it difficult for them. At one time, there's one car is at the airport, one car is take care of the whole town, whatever, to respond, whatever. So to me, it was a safety logistical problem as much as the overtime and the billing process, whatever. So we really thought when we had this initial discussion, and I know it's not been finalized, but it was kind of shocking the way that they say, well, wait a minute, I thought they were making money and it was helping put money into their pot, but actually it wasn't. It wasn't doing as great as things they thought it was gonna do. I mean, they still wanna provide the service, it's just a matter of trying to figure out how we're gonna come up with our end of that kind of money to do what we're gonna do, so.
So we're still on the hook for the difference. The city is aware of our rewriting the airport security plan and where we're headed with this, trying to close the gap between the revenue and expense, so.
I thought when we've talked about this before, and I don't know this, that I don't understand why they have to be involved when they're not involved in other airports. Why are we spending this money when we don't need to be? Why don't we take the Saranac Lake approach? Exactly what they do is to notify the city police and the city of Ogdensburg a complete schedule of all flights, passenger flights that's coming in and out of our airport, notify the state police and the sheriff. They already got the schedule. If anything unusual comes in, within 24 hours we know there's a jet coming from Mexico or whatever, we'll call in all the people that we need to call in and tell them it's coming.
That's the rewrite of the airport security plan that I was referencing. We're taking that exact approach.
And I think it's a good approach.
I do too. I'm just a little cautious because again, we're talking about an airport security plan with the press in the room and on camera. So that's why I'm not too forthcoming with details, but.
Well, I'm not saying anything here wrong that I didn't learn by going to an airport conference, and we all discussed of how we can run our airport, and I
That's
believe
correct.
that airport that is what I just said is doing, has got more flights than what we've got, and they
Yes.
seem to be getting along very good up there.
Absolutely. And there's one additional airport that it's already approved for as well.
And I,
And
and
we're
I, for the
following
life
that
of me,
model.
for the life of me, and I'll say this, and I'll say it on camera, we're here as a public service, this authority is. And I believe that all sheriffs, and volunteers, firemen, and et cetera, are there for the same thing. And to ask what cost, it's always a cost. I see something all the time, and now the other day in the paper, same thing there. We wanna know what it's costing us to put a cop at the fireworks and at the parade and all of this stuff. Well, that's a public service that they should be doing.
Yes.
That's what they should be doing.
That's the
I
answer
I
to the
don't
reason we have
understand it any
municipal
different than
services.
that. You know, they're sitting here in parking lots, and, you know, maybe I don't wanna hear it, Mr. Chairman, but that's how I feel. They're sitting all over the place. What are they doing? Well, why don't they sit up to the airport and be there for a public service that we might need? Why should they have to sit in parking lots? I mean, I just don't understand this. There's no more money there and the public should know this. There is no more money there from federal government to service the police department end of it since 9/11. That thing it's completely gone. So they wanna pass that on to the authority, which is spending $759,000 a year in the hole every year to maintain flights for Cape Air, which is making a tremendous amount of profit. We see nothing. We see nothing out of this. We build the hangars, we build this, we're talking about a fire truck, we're talking about a fuel truck, we're talking about making it better for Cape Air. Well, it's time that Cape Air stepped up to the plate, and if they need security to protect theirself and their passengers, then TSA should be doing it, not the Ogdensburg Bridge and Port Authority. So when we don't have the money, we cut. We don't cut, we just don't have the money. Now, they've given us $43,000 this year, the federal government has. That's what they've given us for security this year. I mean, we know we can't get it done for that. And the city is not gonna do it for anything less.
Right. So we're on the hook for the difference.
No, we're not on the hook for the difference.
Well, we
There
are.
is no money left to do it.
We're on the hook for the difference until such time as we get our airport security plan rewritten and approved. And once we do that, we're off
You
the
know,
hook.
it's just like Cape Air. They're told they can't pick passengers up in Ogdensburg anymore because they don't have a visual police officer there of some sort. Then they can't come here and pick them up, can they? So Cape Air's gonna have to do something, ain't they? If they want to move passengers.
Well, we don't lose the
I don't know how to
service
answer you on that
either.
because we have certain
Moving
obligations.
right along.
Well, I think we need to, you know.
We have
really-
certain obligations under a Part 139 airport that we have to maintain. Security is one of those obligations.
And we do the security very well.
Yes.
And the way I just told you is a very good idea of what we should be doing. These people are public servants. I pay my taxes here, you pay yours. And there's a certain obligation these people have to do to protect me and you. And one of them is sitting in parking lots at,
True.
moving right along, Mr. Chairman.
Well, I think you opened up a real whole can of worms there, but I think everybody needs to be clear here, is that the safety of the airport will not be compromised. Okay, that will not happen. That will not happen.
And that's what I said, it's not gonna happen.
It's not gonna happen. So somewhere along in our plan with, you know, it's exactly what you said. I mean, it's city police, state police, sheriff patrol, all those type of things, whatever, will all be initiated into a new policy procedure. And I'm not sure what the city will ultimately provide anyways when we get all back, when it all gets said and done, at a different rate or whatever. So it'll work out. Okay?
Page 21 is the miscellaneous income. Budgeted 80,000, and you can see the details there of where that came from. Any questions on the miscellaneous income? Okay, next is budgeted salaries and wages.
Who we cut?
The policeman.
There's a lot of things, there's a lot of assumptions here that have not been approved by the board yet. My responsibility is to put a budget together. This is the way I've put the budget together. There's decisions on here that you will have to make. I put in a CPI increase on the management side, calculated, put in the 2 new positions, an accounting manager and a grant manager. The CSEA employees wages have been increased according to the CSEA contract.
I know what you got in there or whatever. I wanna go all the way down to the maintenance part. I guess the first question I kinda wanted to figure out here or whatever. you explained to me the temporary bridge crew at a cost of $100,000. Way down the maintenance.
Yeah,
plan.
the temporary bridge crew is those are the people that we hire in the summer, and Steve, I think you have the answer to that. You asked me to add 2 additional positions.
Yeah, it was requested that we bump up some of the internally.
That was a direct result of Mr. Carter's request to add folks to the temporary bridge crew. And that's
Well, let me clarify that just a little bit. We have reduced our bridge crew down to a number where we need to go back to what the number was that we put in place here. Okay?
Yeah.
It's not, it's a reduction from what was told and what we were gonna do, and we wanna go back to what we should be back to, for we can get our painting done and stuff, et cetera, and et cetera. So it's not an add-on, it's,
Yeah.
we have reduced that, Steve.
that's
Talk a little
exactly-
more about it, because I don't
Yeah.
wanna think the same
No,
thing, this
I'm
is
sorry
new.
about that, I don't have the history that
No,
goes back
um,
that far to know that we had.
Well, we started off in '05 and '06, we had 5 spots, and we went with that for.
And one foreman,
And one foreman.
6.
And we had, we also had, helping out was,
That when Jimmy was there?
yeah, part of the, Jimmy was assistant there, so
Yep.
we had 6 people out there. We went for 3.5 years, or almost 4 years, and then when the, I think it was 2000, anyway, the 2 years that we were working on, we lost one person in '08, and we didn't fill that, and we did fine. Jimmy was still involved in that. Then Jimmy came off of that in '09, I believe. And then with the bridge rehab, we were limited to what kind of work we could do during the summer. So we just stayed, we had 4 people plus 1. So overall, the temporary people, we were too shy of where the original plan was, and so we're ramping back up.
Okay, so what you're doing is obviously bringing your crew back up to speed, or the number of people you need to have. The thing I was kinda concerned about is the type of work they do versus what they used to do, or what they can't do. Like the painting, is the painting different now by the rules?
Nope.
You can still take a brush and go paint and scrape?
No, they're
and
all
say-
trained, and the 2 new people will have to go through the proper training, and also medical screening and everything like that, that's our boilerplate operation, that's how we,
Okay, we don't have, them going out, I'm trying to think what you call them, a pulley system, what do you call them? Help me there, we used to go underneath the bridge where the kids used to paint. What do they used to do, what do they call those things? They lower them.
Scaffold?
The scaffolding things,
Yeah, we have
whatever.
all that.
yeah, we still have all
We still
that.
paint underneath there,
Yeah.
we still lower them
Yeah,
down
we
through
work
there?
at heights all over where they have rigging.
Okay, okay.
Right now, my crew is trained for high rescue and
Okay.
things like that. That's part of what we do. That's what we started in, and what Fred's referring to when we talked the
Okay.
numbers. I think it was '04, '05. That's how we went about it. We got rid of the summer crew were all college kids doing that.
Well, I know in the reports that we were rated very well for maintaining this bridge, to keep it in the condition, and you know, it's deteriorated wherever it may be, but it still hasn't deteriorated as much as it would have because of our previous maintenance programs.
Sure.
And so, well, I guess my question now is, what we're trying to do is to, stay up to speed, doing that same type of work that we used to do. Is that what you're recommending, Fred? Okay,
Yeah.
so,
So
I mean,
let me
what-
suggest this then as an explanation. Let's call it what it is then. It's a restoration of the bridge crew level to prior levels of 6. Is that what I got?
Well, don't count Scott yet, but it'd be 5 people,
Okay,
5 temporary people.
all right.
Okay,
That's an important distinction. Thank you.
Yeah.
I got a couple of questions under the management end of it, and our 2 new proposed positions. The accounting manager. I know I've talked to Fred and I've talked to Wade on this position. First of all, I have a problem with the title of it, manager. As I look down, I see the finance department, we have 2 clerks. And I guess my first question would be, why do we need an accounting manager to oversee 2 clerks? Number 1. And number 2, I guess my other question would be, we did some efficiency changes about a year ago in the finance department. And one of the efficiency changes was to eliminate an accounting position. okay? So now, we're looking for not only an accountant, but an accounting manager. In my feeling, Fred's the manager of that finance department. Okay? And, you know, I guess I'm just, I need some help here to,
Sure.
because like I
Job
said,
description clarify that, Fred?
I think so, but first, when you say accounting manager, the accounting manager wouldn't be, what you described as an accounting supervisor. This, a manager and a supervisor are two different things. I would continue to be the supervisor of these clerks. This accounting manager position is not a supervisory position, it would be performing management accounting duties. So those kind of duties are duties that have been management duties performed by CSEA employees maybe in the past, but management duties just nonetheless, such as managing the ledger, account reconciliations, those kind of duties that I believe are management duties. And we've got in fact, a job description.
got that.
Without talking about names, if we're doing a count, if we went back, let's go back 4 years, just for the sake of discussion here. We had people working in accounting and accounting related things, we had a total of 6. Today we have a total of 3 performing accounting functions, and actually right now we're down to one. We're down to basically 2.5 right now for all intents and purposes. In the executive session, I'd be happy to talk to you more about,
Okay.
you know, the duties and the people and,
Yep.
and so on and so forth. But really, that's the fundamental issue. We had 6. We're down to 3, and we need some assistance in that area.
I'm not sure if it's an executive session, whatever question, whatever, but I asked this one here as we started, we just had discussions for a long time. This isn't something that just came up and you popped on us, whatever. But the question is to how are we gonna evaluate the need, necessity, requirement, function, and productivity of what we want these positions to do. And it's like, are these positions 1 year, 2 year, or time will tell what it is? What is your prediction of what you want this position to be and how long you want it for? I mean, I'll pick on the grant position, whatever. If we evaluate this position, I'm not sure if somebody's gonna sit behind that desk and realize that, you know, we're supporting this position, and all of a sudden you realize, wow, this is a waste of time, money, energy, there's nothing there for this person to, you know, try to find water in the Sahara Desert, you know, so I guess and we're all supportive of that. I am in many ways supportive of the idea of making our business more functional, and we obviously create an opportunity to create our revenue side as much as take care of the expense side. So the question for us is are they predicted to be the same type of evaluation? In other words, you realize the account manager is not really needed after a year or two, whatever, so that person is gonna be presented that way, and the grant manager the same way, or are we gonna have the opportunity to say, okay, this isn't working? I mean, that's a hard one, you know, to have somebody come on board and say, wait a second, you know, Sam, you know, guess what, you're doing a great job, but we're not getting what you need out of the position. And we know we had a spike this year in all the work. I didn't realize all the work it took to do that turbine project and all logistical things that were incorporated in it. And I know some of the, you know, new guidelines and things that you have to keep track of, whatever. But give me some feeling, you know, for, do you have this in your mind, a 1 year, 2 year? What are you really planning? Because you're going to work the numbers to make it work.
Well, to go to the grant manager position, I think you know, when you look at our capital budget, we have a $15.5 million capital budget with 1 million of it coming from us. That's a job that needs to be done to find those funds to enable us to do that capital budget So the grant manager is a position that would do research on grants, make sure that we're applying for grants that do assist us in reaching our capital goals, and be able to manage those grants to ensure that we apply for the funds, make sure that we get the grant funds that we've been awarded. And that's a complex duty, administering the grant. And so that combination of things, being able to write, being able to research, and being able to administer, I believe, is a full-time job, and I think that will be easy to evaluate. Did we get any grants? Are we making our goals, capital goals? Are we properly administrating the grants that we do get? I think that's an easy one to measure.
Up to the.
But to get into Sam's question is, let's see if I can cut through the chase here on this thing. We create the two positions, we put them in place, and 3 years from now, they're not doing what we wanna do. Then at that time, we take them back out of the budget. As simple as that.
Yes.
And it's the, what's coming, and I can tell you, right here, this one document, the time is gonna be spent on that with the budget office and the stuff. And the account manager's gonna be handling a lot of that stuff.
Right.
Look at the time that we spend on certain things that we hear about grants. I can tell you about one later. The grants that people get, unheard of, but where it's coming from, about people writing it. Nobody's writing on the national level on certain things, and a lot of grant managers, when they write it, certain grants they write for, we get that money back when we get the grant. All of that kind of feathers back into the system. I mean, I don't know all the answers. I know that we're down in two areas. One is grant writing, and one is in the account manager's position. And I don't want to discuss this only this far. In executive session, we'll give you some more details that we have received. I guess you would call a union request to look at some things. And we're looking at these things. Now, not pointing any fingers. They brought something to light. These two girls were doing, they're not doing it no more. Because it isn't part of their duties, from what we're being understood. Well, some of the things that they're not doing or not gonna do, some of them things are gonna feather into this other area, and we're gonna explain that to you all in the executive session. But I just wanna let you know, this is not a permanent thing. Either is the deputy executive director a permanent thing. If we find out next year that we don't think that we need that title anymore, we can do away with it. We attach something to it. I know, Doug, you're probably thinking the same thing. Well, once you get it, you got it. Really, that's not the truth here.
It's not the truth at the management level.
That's right. It's not.
Well, I think there's also one thing that's,
I hope a grant
missing
writer
here.
makes enough money to make himself very valuable.
I
Doug, if he's a
agree with
good-
you 100%.
Doug, if he's a good grant writer, he's gonna come to you asking for more money.
I mean, our guy that heads our stuff right now, he's not here today, but if he was here, he'd tell you. His job was there for 10 years because of his grant writing, building grants. Well, you people know that.
In this grants manager position, Fred did a wonderful job of describing it, but there was one component he neglected to mention, and that's the salesmanship component. That's where you take an authority asset, you take an interested party, and you take a grant program out there, you marry the three together and make something work. There are some opportunities out there that because we haven't had the capacity, we've had to pass on. And those are the type of things we'd like to broaden and try and capture. And if it doesn't work out, we'll defund the position.
So that position would work hand in glove with John, basically?
Yeah.
Who administers the grants right now? Is it through your department or?
Yes.
So you have that on top of everything else?
I mean, yous may look down the road 2 months from now or 3 months from now and say, watch what I say here, well, maybe we don't need to hire a grant manager, maybe we should go outside and get someone to do the grant writing for us. Well, we got $50,000 in there, let's see what we can do. So we do, whatever you wanna call it, RFP, whatever.
I wanna see that person right every day here, report right here. I know what you're saying, but.
Well, anyways, I just wanted to let Doug know that we're not trying to put something in here permanent, or it was you would ask the question. No, these things can all change.
Well, you had a comment you wanted to make?
No, I just wanted to know where,
Yeah.
what department was administering right now.
Mhm.
And the outside, yeah, it's good to keep that option open, but if the person's gonna work hand in glove with John, it probably would be better if they were in-house at least, you know, see how that goes.
Well, I think that, you know, to tell you, and I just wanna say this much, I'll just say this much. John has got enough to do in one area is very important, is to fill these buildings. And to get people here and create jobs, okay? We need to readjust all that focus, these folks over here do. And these two people hopefully would make that happen. But John is, we want him creating jobs, you know? And, God bless him, he's been our grant writer, and Wade has, and these two girls over here, and Fred. It just, it's too much. And when and just look at the situation if we didn't have the county come in and do, what was it, APTA?
Appia.
For, whatever it is for your road down there that you built, you and Ricky. But anyways, look at the mess we went through with that. And if we didn't have the county come in and help us and assist us, where would we be with that mess today? And that's all what? Government regulation. And now, one of the most important things that this board's gonna be crossing, and I don't have a problem saying it, is the minority issue here. The goals. And them goals will be met. He said it again today, you're governor. They will be met. Whatever way you gotta do it, get it done.
And he doesn't care if you pay for it and don't get the service for it, as long as on paper it's met.
So that's part of the, another reason
Mr. Chairman,
of the county manager is all of the compliance issues that have been thrust upon. I mean, there was enough compliance issues, it seemed, and now there's more and more, and WMBE is one of them. You know, how do we meet those goals? Because there's constant reporting, there's constant training and meetings, telephone meetings and so on. And there's the website where you can go and try to find vendors. And it's a, I think, a massive undertaking, making those goals and finding a way to make them work.
I deal with a lot of contractors, Fred knows this, I deal with a lot of contractors, they have a double time when they're on a project that's funded by federal or state funds, especially state funds, finding the minority contractors to help them out. Some of the times, they hire companies that aren't capable of doing it, physically, but on paper they do it. They end up doing the work, paying the contractor and taking it out of their bottom line. Because otherwise you can't go forward with the project. What are you gonna, it's the same thing we said before. We're not in the right area to have a lot of minority contractors, that's the problem.
And there's a lot of things that I found out today that we're not, that's not part of the program. So there's a lot of things that's gonna hopefully help you with this meeting you're gonna have, that your bridge maybe not be, the port may not be. All of these things are gonna come into play, and to get a bigger picture of it. But they're not telling us that down in Albany. But they have, what I've always said, is a direct line to somebody down there that they're talking with every day. And that person's helping them to make that happen. So that's, and one of them is these areas that we're talking about.
Where does Frank's cost show up?
Scott, show up in the, we'll get to that.
Okay, all right.
We'll get to that. It's in
That's
professional fees.
You said I should ask for a raise?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can ask, nobody's stopping for asking.
But in order to
No, but if
comply,
you could switch to a
in order
minority.
to comply
If
properly,
you're a minority,
in order to comply properly, we need that accounting manager position, and if we don't apply properly, I think it could have some really adverse effects on this authority.
I guess just my last question, I'll let it go. I guess, why did we eliminate an accounting position less than a year ago? As an efficiency way to run that department.
I'll take that one. The job changed. We changed our cash handling procedures. We had a number of changes and improvements. And in the meantime, what we had added in was we literally have 2 pages of compliance items from the state of New York. Now, we've shared those with the personnel committee, and I apologize you haven't seen that because it's been a personnel committee issue. But I'd be happy to share that with you. And there are some very onerous requirements on those pages. So what's happening here is we've had changes in the jobs themselves. Some parts of the job have gone away. And in addition, we've had all these new requirements piled on. And that's the reason.
I think even maybe a different way to explain it, Wade, is the fact that, when Debbie, we lost Debbie, that, and, you know, Fred came on board is, take a deep breath and just see exactly what we got and what we're dealing with and how to deal with it. And, you know, of course, in Fred's expertise, whatever he's, his management style, okay, and how he deals with accounting is to look exactly how you're doing things and see if there's a better way of doing it. And that's exactly kind of like what the thought of that's how we looked at it, okay? Instead of just jumping right back in and, you know, just filling that position, let's just see exactly how this operation is working, how the money's going, where it's going, whatever. So that's his recommendation to us, exactly, say this is where it's at and where it should go next, so. And you know all the things that he's done on the side, you know, to change this, that, whatever, so. So now it's up to us to say that we accept it or not accept it, whatever, and, you know, kinda go that way. I mean, and I really respect what you said, you know, and really, people understand what the manager means. We think of the manager as Joe Torre as the manager, okay, and exactly, it's a little bit more than that, but in a different way, so. Get a vibration in my pocket, I hope I won the lottery.
Well, I'll go back to what Doug said earlier. Maybe the word manager is not the right description for this. Maybe that's what the whole hang-up is.
Well, we're gonna talk about that. We're gonna talk about, that's, you know, that's coming from, as I said, as a chairman of the personnel committee, I'm gonna bring that all to you in the executive session. But, and I'll bring up some things in the executive session, because I don't wanna bring up all of the stuff that, we didn't raise the flag. The flag was raised on us. Okay? And we're just trying to run this authority as efficient as we can.
That's exactly what my concern is.
That's exactly what it is. It doesn't matter if we call them what it is, but there are certain things that's got to be done here. And it's not, as far as I'm concerned, in the best interest for us to discuss it openly right now.
No. Can we move forward? We gotta go
Yeah,
further
sure.
here. I mean, I know we got.
Page 23 is the same as page 22, except it shows you the allocation. So you can see, you know, why the airport has $127,000 in wages. You can see where they come from. For instance, if you go down to the toll collectors, you can see the whole amount is allocated to the bridge for a month. And then this is an attempt to do that. The next page, 24, shows you the percentages. Page 25 is the benefits. So where the benefits come from and how they add up to 969,000 and how they are split between the bridge, the airport, industrial park, and marine terminal.
Well, that workers' comp took a jump, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. Yep.
Yeah, we're paying for somebody else.
And
Can we
we're,
speak to that? Can we speak to as to why?
yeah, well, that would be because of the wind turbine project. Same way with unemployment. You know, we're in a different category for the next year.
So if we go a year without a wind turbine project,
That'll come
we
back
can
up.
expect them to drop right.
Yeah,
Got it.
right.
We'll be watching.
Yeah,
I know.
we will have our workers, we're having our workers' compensation audit next Tuesday. I expect to get a bill right after that.
Yeah.
Project every year, much better.
Maintenance expense summary, you can see, this is a summary page, shows the 395 which area the expenses are in, then we'll get into the details. Page 27 shows you, the bridge fund. Total maintenance 181.4, and, I won't go down these one by one, but you go ahead and, ask any questions, and Steve will answer them.
I'm just curious on our automotive, are we pretty close, are we safe with that figures with the cost of gas and the maintenance that we're doing on our vehicles? Are we first of all, are we pretty well within the line items for 13?
Yes, and also, it's called automotive, but the loaders and heavier equipment is tagged into that. So it's quite a wide range, it's not just pickup trucks.
No, I sort of figured
Okay.
everything, I just
Yeah,
wanted.
no, it's been, pretty good, and then, we kinda kept an eye on fuel, I mean, we've retired a number of vehicles, and, we, just trying to keep costs down on some of the, on fuel usage, and then, we found the milder winters drives the diesel usage down, and we chart that, and we see that, so, I felt pretty comfortable with that.
Okay, no, I was just, my only concern was, that I'm just looking at it, it didn't go up much, I'm just saying, the price of parts, the price
Well,
of gas, are we,
Yeah, and then
you
I
know,
look
are
at,
we?
and then also Fred gives me an update of where we are this year.
Mhm.
So I try to, rather than just say, oh, these were the numbers I used last year, let's use them. We try to realistically look at them and go,
Say,
well, we were a little high there, let's just cut a little bit here
Okay.
and, just try to be more realistic rather than, when you see at the end of the year, you go, wow, we were down and yet we were,
Yeah.
so much higher than, what we had budgeted, so I just kind of rather keep that. And with that in mind, if I go higher or lower, at least we were just trying to be,
Yeah.
get a more realistic of how we use our
Okay.
funds.
Any other questions on the bridge? Next page, is marine terminal.
Let me go back a second, on this bridge utility. Do you separate those costs, or you blend it all in, so we can pay electricity for the bridge and stuff? I mean, is that all put into one electrical bill? How would you know if we wanted to put, just tell Wade here, there's 62 bulbs on the bridge, whatever, I change it, whatever it wanna be, but how would you know?
Our stack utility bill is that high,
I
so
know,
I mean,
yeah.
each are individually charged, so
You've got specific meters.
specific meters.
Oh, is there, okay,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
you know
Coded.
exactly.
Right.
All the utility accounts are coded
But I'm just saying, if you were gonna do the bridge,
for what?
you change the bulbs or whatever you're gonna
Well,
do
that's
with
under
it.
maintenance, we keep that separate from the utility.
So you would know the utility bill
Yeah, so it would be under,
specifically?
so like on the border station, grounds maintenance would cover all the outside bulbs.
Yeah,
And then on the same thing with grounds maintenance and, on different, there's a factor for all that, maintaining
Okay.
that thing. But as far as the actual utilities, that's a separate thing that, is separate from that. But to maintain a light post.
but I
or-
can really identify that number.
You could see
Yeah.
that
You
part.
know,
Yes,
okay,
you
I
do.
just, I wanna know if it was all
Yeah.
metered through
Yeah.
someplace else and you say, okay,
Yeah, like, for example, on the border station, there's a component in that building maintenance and the grounds maintenance that I have a list of, it's over 600 fixtures out there, and I've gotta say a certain percentage of those are gonna go bad, and we need to, that's our part of our contract to replace them. So I just factor that in, and it doesn't really, it only goes up if the price of the fixture goes up, but I
Yeah.
pretty much have a pretty well,
Yeah.
and just to match those up, so it just depends on where it is. If it's outside, it's under grounds, if it's in the building, it's under building maintenance, so
Yeah.
that part for fixing a light bulb or anything like that is under that.
well, I think the public knows this is a complicated process. There's a lot, I mean, seriously.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very intrigued every time I ask a
But-
question, I'm
but,
saying, okay,
um,
learn a little bit more here.
The one thing, I've got a template that I've worked off of over the years, and like I was just saying to Doug, we just try to hone that down to be more realistic, rather than just say, oh, well, and so when we get to this point, we just try to use with where we're at right now and seeing how we're doing, and just try
Yeah.
to keep
Okay.
that.
Yeah, good, thank you.
That's the bridge page. Now on the marine terminal, page 28. Any questions on this page? Page 29, the industrial park maintenance. Again, Steve has answered a lot of questions about these that I had to see how they fit into the budget and so on. So he's all practiced up.
Trying to set you up, isn't
So,
Page 30 is airport.
Well, let me start from there.
Okay.
I'm terrible, I'm like, any paving at the port?
it's under capital.
Yeah, it'll be under
program.
capital.
Oh, okay, all right, that's what
Yeah,
you
yeah,
covered.
you're
Okay.
right, and then there is, in some of these though, there is a little, maybe, I can't, I'll just throw a number out there, maybe some under $1,500, where we may replace some concrete or asphalt, but it's not on a huge scale, it's more of a
Okay.
1 day or 2 day thing, so we throw that in
Yeah,
there.
because I remember Wade and I talked about the lighting
Yeah.
around the toll booth out here, something that we can, you know,
Yeah.
just need a major thing to improve the lighting around the toll booths.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, so that's in your maintenance
Yeah,
part?
some might be in maintenance, depends on the scale of it.
Yeah.
And some of those, I factored into them, it's in the maintenance and it
Okay.
will get done. And then some of those that are on a larger scale, that'll depend on how the board chooses to go, and we try to cover that.
I'd like to say what you advise us to go.
Advice.
And the airport's on page 30. And then page 31 is the bridge painting and maintenance. This is the one that went from 30 to 52,000 this year. This is the breakdown where that 52,000 came from.
Just basically because we're talking about adding a couple more people back and we're stepping the
Yes.
program up.
Right. So their labor wouldn't be in here, but the fact that there are 2 more people creates more
More
costs.
materials,
Yes.
So
so
are
you can
those-
get more done.
Is that date on top, the 331, should that be 14?
Yes,
And then, so it's one off, and then the
Yeah.
next one is 13?
yeah. That's correct. Safety inspection on page 32.
That was the one they asked you about.
Yeah, that's,
Yes.
yeah, that answers.
Fuel and utilities on page 33. Here's where you can see, remember that went down from 257 to 240. Most of the decreases are in electricity and that one line under the industrial park, additional charge back to customers of 15,000. More customers means that there will be more people or more organizations paying for, reimbursing for the fuel and electricity.
Along those lines, you say more people in the building, so you charge them back. How do you keep track of that?
We,
Square footage or?
square footage, yes.
or
So
basic
somebody
rate of
is
light?
10,000 square feet in a 40,000 building, they pay 25%.
And
I
we're-
think we have to watch that if somebody come in that was manufacturing,
Yes.
and they were in a quarter of the building, and I think we
Yeah.
have to watch that very closely, and make sure they don't only pay 1/4 of it. If they're a heavy
Yeah,
electricity.
if they're drawing all the
electricity-
juice, you wanna make sure they pay their fair
Right.
share.
Yes. We talked about that the other day, because there is a few more tenants and there is some new utility charges going out to them, how best to watch that if they are manufacturing. Insurance is on page 34. See, I kept the bridge, flat. That's kind of a funny term for a bridge, that bridge. But, you can see we budgeted 120 last year and it came in at 107. I think it's because of the earthquake, damage that we got the 107, and we were guaranteed that for 2 years. The others, I have changed according to, the information that I received from our, insurance people.
So the year after 2014, we're gonna look at a different number.
Right,
We did save a lot of money by
yes,
hooking in for 2 years.
Yes, we did.
That was a good move by us.
yes, very good.
Fred, just a minor point, but would you check for me there's a special bond that we need to maintain to keep the FTZ active? I think
Okay.
you've got it listed here, I think it's the US Customs bond, but can you
Okay.
double check that?
Yes.
Because we wanna make sure that we keep that,
Yeah.
active. Thank you.
And the allocation of insurance is on the page 35. That's just, for my purposes, how to allocate these, different costs. Marketing and development, page 36. This shows how the $143,000 is being spent. Page 37 is real details, you know, the real, the details of the 143. So it's either page you wanna look at, if there's any questions, just,
I wish John were here, so he could report on this,
Yeah,
but
this is,
basically where things are being spent, to give you an idea, those percentage figures are very important. Of the total spend of $143,000, 47% is going to efforts to attract something to the marine terminal. 46% is going to the industrial park, 5% is going to the bridge, and 2% is going to the airport. That's overall how things are being broken down there, and you can see above that how he has broken those down into trade shows, postage, mailing, so on and so forth, down through these various categories.
and I looked at this, I'm saying, I guess the number was really substantial when you start looking at all the numbers. And then my last caption, I wrote down a little note to myself, did we get a bang for the buck? You know, and all the things that we do. I mean, and actually, I put, for Bruce's dollars and stuff, I mean, it's too early to tell exactly what we're gonna get out of this. But I think the public needs to know that we're not just sitting still, not just waiting for things to come to us. We're taking a aggressive approach to go find out what we can find. And working with other agencies, the IDA, and, whatever there is out there, regional, wager involved and all that stuff with John. I mean, so there's a lot more going on here than just, trying to, just let things come to us, so. Maybe somebody else to respond to that, but I think the other thing I look at, 2% of the airport, the bridge kinda like, takes care of itself, but still in all, it still needs, I think one of the things that doesn't really show in that marketing approach is the new sign we're gonna put up. Okay, which is gonna, it's a LED sign, which is gonna promote, the port, the bridge, the railroad, everything about us, and, we haven't really decided exactly how we're gonna use the sign in other ways of, marketing or revenue, but still in all, it's part of that approach, and it's investment in here that, we wanna make things happen here.
Well, we know it'll reach 700,000 people a year, without question. We have both the north and southbound sign, and it should be up and active December 19th.
December 19th, right?
Tell me something, what is it again? What, have we got anything that out of the trade shows? Has there been anything positive come out of the trade shows?
Yes, and one of the contacts was the wind turbine project that we had. Another one I can think of is one of the grain contracts. There isn't anything that I can point to other than those two specific examples and say, aha, it was a direct result of any one of those things. So for example, you notice like Break Bulk US is not, you've seen that before. We've gone to that, met with some folks there and have not had a success. So as a result, that is not included on this trade show list here that you see over on page 37.
Well, I can respond to that, because I attended with the meeting in wind turbines in Atlanta back, I think it was in May, and looking at all the clients, that potential clients, were all right there in one site, and one that's, I don't think we have anything really solid for 2013, but obviously there's a couple clients, okay, they're very, very close to moving their projects forward that, may have a real strong potential. And we're right in there in the ground floor. Right in the ground floor, they wanna use our port, everything about us. And also when you were there, those people network within themselves to say, how did the Port of Ogdensburg do? How did the Port of Ogdensburg handle Vestas and that project, whatever, and how did that go through, whatever. That was a critical project that we had to show those companies, okay, that we can do the job here. So I mean, it's a good question, Fred. I mean, do you get everything? I don't know. Networks is always a big thing in anything you do. You go meet with people, network, whatever. And I think, wages, correct me if I say that, whatever, the last project was 5 years ago for this one. It took 5 years for this project to come to the table. The last turbine project happened this past summer. That was 5 years ago, before it really evolved itself, so.
That's
it always
true,
wrong.
we had some abnormal economic conditions that
Yeah.
occurred, otherwise it probably would have been
Quicker.
two years
Yeah.
from the previous project, but
But, yes, yeah.
yep,
But
that's
there's one
accurate.
thing about it then, is, all I was looking for is the number of 42,800. I wanna know if we feel that we're getting a, bang for our buck. I
Yeah,
guess
that's
we
right.
are getting a bang for our buck, but if we don't talk about it here, people don't understand what that $42,800 was spent on.
Yeah.
And it definitely brings us something else to advertise the thing. And I understand, I've been to them trades things and they're a long time going, so
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with it.
Let's talk about methods that this budget will use in terms of marketing methods for trade shows. It's round numbers, $43,000. Direct mailing, $7,000 on the port side of things. You can see on page 37 the radio, newspaper, and trade journals total there. Subscriptions and dues, a couple of key things. I'll give an example of how one thing can help, like that Northeast Ag and Feed Dues. That's an agency that we recently joined, and one of the leads that we got from that resulted in a customer. So there's an example where $300 paid for itself many times over, and there are different examples as you go up through the list here. You can see the international and regional marketing subtotals there for the Bridgeport and the industrial park, and some general other type stuff. And again, you can see the split of the $67,900 for the port and the $65,300 for the industrial park.
I wanna make this comment, because really, when you stop and think about the money that we're outlay, whatever, and what we're trying to do, and all those things that we're doing, I mean, that's a lot of pressure on our small little staff to get done. And, you know, we look at a grants manager, accounting type of things, other type of things. Some of our jobs, okay, that these require, some of these new people, if we put them on staff, they need to pick some of this stuff up. Okay, they need to go to work, because if you're gonna invest that kind of money, okay, you need to bang for your buck. You really need to do. I mean, it's, so our staff, I think, is really gonna know what's a task, you know, what you gotta do to get this job done, move this economy.
Page 38 is legal fees.
Here we go, Frank.
I see those numbers, but I didn't see it in my office, and I was wondering where it went.
We did reduce it, so
I don't know.
maybe you'll notice that in your office. But there is details behind that, of course, but I haven't got them in here.
Basically,
due
you're
to the
familiar with
nature of them.
the cases. There's 5 active cases. It's dropped down to 4 and possibly 3 active cases. So that's where we stand there.
And we're gonna do our best to stay out of those kinds of cases in the future.
Right.
Prevent.
Well, prevent.
Prevention is the number one thing, right?
Now, some of those go back to,
Some of them were just dragged in.
I wasn't a lawyer when one of them
1992.
started.
Page 39 is the other professional fees, and you can see them listed, the annual audit, payroll preparation, and that's our payroll service, armored car service, IT, that's ABS. There's the Leo of 85,000, the highway group appraisals and other, adds up to 155. The 230 is the 155 plus the 75 for legal.
So when you say Leo's in there at 85,
Yes,
the Leo should be only in there at 43.
no, that's what we're gonna get. That's
Well,
not
why
what we're
would we
gonna
have
pay.
85 in there?
That's what we're paying the city. That's our contract
Yeah,
with the
these are
city.
the expenses. Or
Yeah,
yes,
the expense side.
this is the expense side of it.
So the differences are what we're eating.
So for example,
But if we eliminate what we're talking about eliminate, this number goes away.
Yes.
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 This budget, yeah, right, but this budget is based on the policy that
This
exists
is
today.
this is our current budget.
The next page, page 40, is other general expenses. This is where the postage and the paper clips are. Business meetings, service contracts, staff training. You asked for staff training, Sam, I
Yes.
put staff training in here, 5,000. Bank service fees are in here. That's the Canadian real estate taxes.
I'm back up to those bank service fees, is that doesn't include the, Canadian, currency conversion, does it?
No, it does not.
Okay.
I can vouch that they don't overspend an awful